Good evening and welcome to the Whaler Guys. Jerry Irwin, Pete Hindle, the Whaler Guys. We have a great guest coming up. We'll introduce him in a minute. But remember, we do more than hockey. We are now really diving into what Hartford has to offer for millennials, for businesses, for entertainment. And tonight we have an expert in that area, and that's Peter Demallie from Design Professionals. And he's going to really enlighten us with all the statistical data he has. And remember, we are bringing this city back, and we're going to bring this hockey team back. Peter, thank you very much for joining us.
Jerry, Peter.
Hey.
Thanks for inviting me.
No problem.
So your big project that you are on the board for is the Knowledge Corridor.
It's one of them.
Yes. Why don't you tell us a little about your bio and what you do, and especially getting into the Knowledge Corridor.
A little bit of your Whaler love can go.
Oh yeah. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, a little bit about me. I'm an urban planner. I was educated in Wilmington, Delaware, and Westport, Connecticut school system. Went to college in New England's Western Reserve, which is the Cleveland area. Mm-hmm. Then I went on to graduate school at University of Rhode Island in urban planning, got a master's degree there. And then from there, went to work as a town planner for Killingly, Connecticut, and concurrent with that was a senior regional planner at the Northeastern Connecticut Regional Planning Agency, which covers the Northeastern Connecticut area, which is Putnam and Danielson. Mm-hmm. From there, I became the director of planning for the town of South Windsor, it's a Hartford suburb, just northeast of the city, and that was during a high growth period. After that 7-year tenure, went with the public works director in that community, a gentleman named Bob Arsenal. We formed a company called Design Professionals, which is a consulting firm, multidisciplinary consulting firm. Our practice consists of landscape architecture, urban planning, land surveying, and civil and traffic engineering.
Wow.
So we've been doing that for 31 years. We basically design development projects in the 3 southern New England states, emphasizing New England's Knowledge Corridor, which we'll get into in a moment. Mm-hmm. We've averaged about 100 new projects a year. We've done well over 3,100, actually it's over 3,500 projects that we've been involved with. That means we design retail complexes, residential communities, sports fields, parks and recreation. We do schools, you name it. We've done 1,500 industrial projects. That could be as little as adding a parking lot, loading docks, an expansion to the building, or a very large industrial building, or multiple building complex in industrial park, that type of thing. So we do lots of those types of services, and they're throughout Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island.
Wow. So
that's what I do. I reside in South Windsor, and maybe some of the organizations I've been involved with.
Sure. You know, you talk about your South Windsor, currently in South Windsor. Mm-hmm. You commented how your daughter picks out your clothes and tells you how good you look or don't look. We all have someone like that. Yeah. The good news is he wore his Whaler tie tonight. Yeah. Currently, what other endeavors are you involved in?
Well, a lot. One is the New England's Knowledge Corridor Partnership. That used to be called Hartford Springfield Economic Partnership. It was founded in year 2000, a bi-state organization of about 20 entities, including colleges and universities, as well as major corporations and nonprofit organizations, such as here in the Hartford area, Capital Region Council of Governments, in Springfield area, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. They're heavily involved. But I've been involved with that for the last 4 years. I also am involved with some people, primarily people who reside in Hartford, and that's an organization that's, you've attended our,
yes.
our monthly meetings,
yes.
gatherings, but
yes.
Once a month, LWO Hartford, Living, Working, Loving Hartford, and its Knowledge Corridor region. We have we sponsor a guest speaker. It's a 90-minute program, a little networking, guest speaker, and then we go back to networking if we have time, and then we're done. And then we can go on to our other activities in the evening. So we're having fun with that.
It's a great bunch of people. Peter and I felt totally out of place because they said, "Where do you work?" And we just sat there and said, "Well, we're here because we're at Hartford Public Access in Hartford." And, "Oh, what do you do?" And we explained we were the Whaler Guys. And for a little bit there, we were the center of attention until someone came up and interrupted, which was just fine. And we got to meet great people. Sarah Bronin came in to speak. Lyle Ray with
Capital Region Council.
Yeah, he was great because he talked about the rail system, and that's something we're going to touch on tonight as well.
Right.
Because that, in my opinion, after listening to Lyle speak, nobody's touched on that. Yeah. I mean, it has not been publicized as much as I wanted it to. You walked away with the same feeling, Peter.
Yeah, that really blew my mind because not only is it it's a way for people from Boston, New York to actually come to Hartford, should there be an NHL team or, something that they want to see. Instead of people, because we get a lot of hockey fans, they're going to Boston and New York because that's where they have to go to, So it'd be great to see some of that reversal. And with this train system, and we, we'll get into that, but something like 17 trains, I think you said by January, which would be astounding.
Yes, and that's down to the New Haven corridor and into New York. They're working up north of Springfield, and they have to connect Worcester to that at some point. But it's so enlightening that you hear this and you're like, why isn't anyone publicizing this? We have college kids that want to go all over the place. They don't want to drive their cars. They want the fast track or they want the train service. So I think that's going to be a huge thing for this region.
We'll be touching on that in a couple minutes. I'm involved about a dozen organizations besides running the business with my wife.
How's that work?
How's it work? It works. She's a boss at home and at the office, so it's fun.
Yes.
Yeah, we get along great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a family business for a long time.
That's awesome.
Good.
Yeah, 31 years. So.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to tell us first? What is the big hit list you have in front of us? Because Peter Demallie did such an awesome job with the list.
Yeah.
And when I looked at it at first, I was like, wow. This is going to be an exciting, 20, 25 minutes.
Well, yeah, we only have 25, so we won't be hitting all 35 points.
Right.
Why don't I start out with one of the large ones? City of Hartford is at the geographical center of this region we call New England's Knowledge Corridor, and it's the nation's 20th largest market. Who knows that? Probably about less than 1% of the people who reside in this market.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. We have a population of over 2.77 million people, and it's a 7-county bi-state region. That's 4 counties in Connecticut. That's New Haven, Hartford, Middlesex, and Tolland, and 3 counties around Springfield. And it's basically known also as Metro Hartford, Springfield, New Haven, and it's the I-91 corridor. So it's the second largest metropolitan area in New England by far.
Wow.
So that's nailing it down a little bit to get people's attention. 20th largest market in the United States.
That's amazing. And that's the other thing we talk about all the time is how big Hartford is in the TV market.
Yeah.
And that's where, without a professional sports team, for now, and that you bring that point up, and that just shows people how many people are in this area.
Yeah, but it includes Hartford and Springfield, only 26 miles or so to the north.
Exactly.
That's the center of a fairly large region, and then you add in New Haven, just roughly 40 miles south of Hartford, and we have this linear region that is very substantial in size, and it compares favorably with many of the markets.
That's amazing.
Let me give you a little bit more tidbit. Some of the markets that we're larger than, metropolitan areas in North America, including U.S. and Canada, larger than Denver, just a little bit smaller than St. Louis, larger than Pittsburgh area, Charlotte, San Antonio, Orlando, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Austin, Texas, Buffalo, New York, Columbus. Some of these, of course, have teams, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Either present or former. Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Las Vegas, Milwaukee, Nashville, New Orleans. They're smaller than this market, the Knowledge Corridor. Oklahoma City is Providence, Salt Lake City, San Jose, and you get into Canada, you're talking about three communities which have NHL franchises, Calgary, Winnipeg, and Edmonton. So we're larger than those metropolitan areas, and they often have multiple sports franchises, which we'll get into in a moment. But we're a large metropolitan area. People don't identify; they identify as Hartford or New Haven or Springfield as small markets. TV market just Hartford and New Haven. When in fact we are a region. I mean, you see everybody commuting down to Hartford from Springfield. I-91, it's backed up like crazy. Backs up all the way to at least Bloomfield Avenue from Hartford, the interchange. It's many, many miles back up, and we share an airport and all that.
In that list you mentioned, there were 11 teams that have an NHL franchise. So there are, imagine that, 11 teams. That's more than 1/3 of the league. Las Vegas was in there, by the way.
And by the way,
kind of a little early on that one, but it's still 11.
And by the way, some of them shouldn't have them. It's just my opinion.
Yeah, and even some of them have shrunk. I mean, they have multiple franchises, not in NHL, but New Orleans, for example, has shrunk substantively since their disaster.
And you mentioned Charlotte too,
Right, and another thing is, you just think about, we lost our team, Hartford Whalers, left 97?
97.
97, 20 years ago.
Yep.
And when they left, they went to a much smaller market. In fact, their market is 1 million people smaller than the New England's Knowledge Corridor. It's actually incredible. And it's 1 million, Austin, Texas is 1 million people smaller.
Wow.
So considering that, we are a substantial market. It's going to attract, if it doesn't attract an NHL team, which I'm hopeful for, it will attract other teams, pro franchise teams.
And soccer is up and coming too, and that's
there's a big
the
soccer
Hartford
area.
Soccer Club just attracted 500 people to a game on a rainy Sunday that was freezing out.
Oh yeah, it was.
And
it
they
was,
had
it was
a
a bad
phenomenal.
weather night.
They had a phenomenal turnout.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Give you an idea of how urban this is. We have 700 people per square mile. That's in the entire corridor.
Wow.
The entire New England's Knowledge Corridor. And at 700 people per square mile, that's twice the population density of the metropolitan area for St. Louis and twice the population density of Denver. We are a very urban, compact area. So that's one thing to take into consideration. So we're much bigger than a lot of these other markets, and we have and things that they look for. A franchise owner, you want to invest in an area that's healthy.
Sure.
We have a higher income, household income in the Charlotte area.
Yep.
And we're about the same as Research Triangle Park, but with another 1 million people.
In those areas, as we talked about, Charlotte has a basketball team.
Football team.
Yep, and you have all those college basketball teams down there that attract many more fans than UConn. And UConn's done a great job with their program, but it's a whole different feeling down south.
Yeah.
And that's where they make their money, is college sports. Obviously, Carolina is not making money, and we encourage them to continue to lose money. But
it's not a natural area for them. I mean, we really are taking our chances when we put an NHL franchise in an area that doesn't even have frozen ponds in the winter.
Correct.
It's just not a natural condition.
Right.
goes for Arizona too.
Absolutely. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Dig I can, I will.
We can dream
Yep.
about it. But we are singularly, Knowledge Corridor is the largest market in the United States by far.
Yeah.
Without one of the top 5 franchises, league franchises, such as NHL and Major League Soccer and Major League Baseball and the NBA and the NFL. If you take those 5 major sports, we're by far the largest market in the United States without them. And somebody come in here and have the market for themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
And we've gone over many times how people are concerned about that we're in between Boston and New York. We have our own market, as you're pointing out, that we can have our own TV revenue for our area.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
it being by state too is interesting because in our parade for the St. Patrick's Parade, we always have people that come from Western Mass. A good amount of people still come from Western Mass, and they are still Whaler fans, still hoping.
that
So
short period of time.
It shows that they'll make
Right.
that trip to Hartford.
Exactly. For that short period of time that the Western Mass Public Access Channel covered our show, we were getting a lot of messages from Western Mass about the Whaler guys show up there, and it was great because they watch it because they're still Whaler fans in Western Mass and
proves
hockey
the
fans.
market's there.
Let me give you another statistic with respect to the New England's Knowledge Corridor, this market, 20th largest in the United States. We have, within this market, one of the largest concentrations of higher education. And that doesn't include the prep schools, that's another factor, but, and public education. But colleges and universities alone, we have 41 of them. That includes the major state universities, flagship universities for Massachusetts in Amherst, it's their flagship campus, and also for University of Connecticut, well, it's satellite campuses, of course, one coming to Hartford this fall.
Next year, yeah.
This fall.
Or this year,
yeah. And then we have, UConn in Stores, and then we also have Yale University, we have Trinity, Wesleyan, University of Hartford, Central Connecticut State University, among others. So 41 colleges and universities up and down the I-91 corridor, and that has 215,000 college and graduate students. And that's huge. They love entertainment. They'd love to go to pro sports. You always see college students at pro sports. To couple on top of what we have for UConn's offerings in hockey, men's and women's basketball, football, and the like. So it adds to the entertainment value. It means that many more of, we have to target these 215,000 students. Not only the kids, our kids who go away to college, if they do, we want to try to have them come back. But if they develop a loyalty while they're here, growing up in town, then they go away, they may want to come back because they love their NHL team, what have you. And then the college and university students here, if they develop a love for a pro NHL franchise, they may want to remain here. It's another reason to remain.
That's right.
And also, and they might help the colleges and universities with respect to attracting faculty and research scientists. If they know they're coming to a major area that's 20th largest, and they don't know that today, because we need to publicize that much greater as we're doing tonight, in this widely broadcast.
Yes, right. We're everywhere.
Broadcast.
Statewide.
We can attract faculty, but also attract students. It helps them because right now we have to be concerned about the internet courses, and we want them to physically come here and live in the dormitories or off campus and go to classes on campus because it's a huge part of our economy. So we need to do that.
Now, with your knowledge corridor, how much work do you do in the universities to try to get these kids after they graduate to remain here? Do you guys do anything like that, or is that primarily up to the individual businesses? Is it up to schools to find them?
There isn't a lot of that occurring, not enough of it. We could, if we collaborated, corporations, small, medium, large, large institutions that have students, that have employees, anything of that nature, if we were at workforce development boards and all that, and government, we were to collaborate so we could get more of these students into internships. Then they have a greater chance, and they may be offered jobs, much greater chance of us capturing them for the long haul.
Sure.
But we have to have something else to offer them.
Yes,
They're
we
looking
do.
for downtown housing. We have the downtown housing now,
Yes, we
right in
do.
the center of the city.
Yeah.
Were they looking for fine dining? They love to eat out, right?
Yep.
What do they love to do? They don't want to cook, they want to eat out.
Oh, yes,
and we
they
have
do.
40 fine restaurants in Hartford, and Hartford leads the state in annual revenue for restaurants in Connecticut. And our 169,
awesome.
we call them principalities. But so that's an important consideration. So how do we attract people to this region, and how do we retain them? That's absolutely critical. Right now, Pratt & Whitney has a $1 trillion backlog in orders.
That's amazing.
We have, but the problem is in advanced manufacturing, which includes aerospace, such as Pratt & Whitney and all their subcontractors and many other contractors around doing many other things. We're very diverse, our economy here. But if within 10 years, fully 1/2 of all advanced manufacturing employees, and we're all advanced manufacturing, we can't afford to be competitive with Vietnam and China, all that stuff for inexpensive items, mass produced. We do high value items. Within 10 years, 50% of those people are going to be retiring, and that's called the economic tsunami, the demographic tsunami, whatever you want to call it. If we don't replace them, we're in danger of losing some of these major employers, and we're losing a cluster. You know, it's a whole big package. We need to consider that.
We really have to look at how we can retain them. CBIA and some other organizations need to get out there. I mean, we have our career fairs at our state universities, at the colleges, but I think, as you described, you know, there's going to be that economic tsunami, and we have to be ready for it. We have to have our kids ready to jump in if we're able to keep them here, and that's the main thing, is retaining them and living in Hartford or in the region.
And where do they go? Unless all their friends are staying, which was the case of
That's
both my son and my
that's a
daughter.
huge thing.
They stayed here after college. They stayed here. Their friends almost, huge percentage of their friends stayed here. And they were able to get employment here, good employment here. So they stayed. But the millennials, they want the activities and excitement of a big city. They want downtown housing, they want mass transit, and that's what we're going to have.
Yeah.
We started just a couple of years ago, we started CT Fast Track, the bus rapid transit, serves CCSU and other, New Britain into Hartford, the densest part of the corridor. And with that, we had 3 million passengers in the first year, which far exceeded any projections. And then we've already had about 5.5 million passengers. So that was
Which again
implemented.
far exceeded their expectations.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're like 15, 20 years out.
Which is
before we're gonna hit
wonderful.
that. It's wonderful. But come January, just a few months away, half a year away, we're going to commence operations for the Hartford line, which is a commuter rail system serving New Haven, Hartford, and Springfield area, the New England's Knowledge Corridor. It's going to bring us together. 91 already brings us together, but can you imagine when we have a commuter rail system, we're going to start with 17 round-trip trains a day throughout the weekdays, and then we're going to end up with projecting out to 25 round-trip trains. We're going to have service in New Haven, Meriden, Wallingford, Berlin, Hartford, Windsor Locks, Windsor, Enfield, and Springfield, and maybe a couple others thrown in there. So people will be able to hop on the train, come to Hartford for work, or vice versa. You know, they could live in any one of these communities, work in any of the others, not have to get into a car, or maybe a car to get to the train station. But hopefully, we'll have enough bus transit so we don't have to.
But
worry
remember,
about that.
millennials like Uber. So they don't have to take their car. They'll take Uber to the train station, take the train up to Hartford, see a hockey game, basketball game, whatever's going on, and then take the train back.
So, what do the metropolitan areas they have, other than unless they're looking for warm weather all year round? We can check the box of transit come January, and not only that, we'll have the downtown housing, the fine restaurants, the entertainment. We got to have the entertainment. So they'll be able to get on their transit, which they love, get up to Hartford, walk to the XL Center, refurbished XL Center, and away we go.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect. And like you said, you can hit any of the 40 restaurants that are in downtown. Pete and I, Peter came with us to Vaughn's the other night, had a great dinner, in and out, we had a great time. And this is what they're looking for. You're absolutely right. Everything at their doorstep.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's great to think that we don't know this for sure, but that the NHL is aware of this stuff and realizing, hey, we should pay attention to this. And with all these trains coming in, and now you're talking about pulling from different areas and different regions, it makes it a lot more palatable.
And it's also for the investment groups. The investment groups are going to be so important to see what Hartford and the state have planned for the future. And all this together is a huge movement for not only Hartford, but for the state of Connecticut. We haven't done this much in years.
Remember, when we had the Whalers here for, what, 18 seasons?
Well, it was NHL, it was
18
and
Yeah, it was
18. And in 97.
Yep.
We didn't have this commuter rail.
No, we didn't have fast track.
We didn't have fast track to get into games. We didn't have the commuter rail. And fast track will other circulators going around to population centers, employment centers, what have you. So people can get to the games via mass transit when they could not. Other than, I remember taking from commuter parking lot out in Manchester, they had a bus going in. Buses going in, a fair number of them, and then going out. That was fine, but it's nothing like having a commuter rail system at your disposal with many trains. And another thing, this train system we're instituting, the Hartford line, come January, we will be able to get on that commuter train and go not only to New Haven or up to Springfield, but also go all the way to roughly every other train, something like that, all the way, stay in your seat, go all the way into New York City.
That's awesome.
And the same reverse track, you think of it, people from New York, Stamford, Bridgeport, New Haven, whatever, can come up here for games.
Yeah.
And you know as well as I do, there's plenty of people that live up in this area that drive to New Haven to take the train from New Haven into the city. Now they can take it right from Hartford.
I'm telling you.
Now I hope they build enough parking, because that would be the only big issue.
Well, there's enough parking in Hartford.
They had plenty of parking.
We got,
That's true.
what do we got, 25,000 parking places?
Yeah, we do.
There's a lot of parking in Hartford. In fact, I think there's even more than that.
Yeah, there is. You're right.
But,
We have a couple more minutes, so let's
only
get
a
to.
few,
Yeah,
okay.
we talk too much.
Well, that's the purpose of the program. Convey some information.
That's right. Pay attention.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, in the future, and we're talking long term, is some investment group wants to bring a team here, and we have to have an investment group. We just talked about the XL Center for a minute too. But in the long term, there's a movement to extend the Boston's commuter rail line beyond Worcester to Springfield, and then you go New York, Stamford, New Haven, Hartford, Springfield, Worcester, Boston, and everybody go back and forth more.
Go see the Red Sox, Pete.
Maybe.
And
anyway.
more fans can come, even Whalers fans
Yeah.
who live in Eastern Massachusetts and New York would be able to come up for games as they see
Or the
fit.
kids going to school up in
Yeah.
Massachusetts, come back home for the weekend.
Right.
Without driving their car.
Right.
Yeah, and you brought up the point, we've talked about how Bradley is the second largest airport in New England.
It is.
Yeah, which makes it, we're servicing a lot of people. It is, Hartford is the perfect hub for this whole thing, so.
We have to wrap it up. We've gotten through a lot. We're going to have Peter back for the remainder of the list, and he has so much great information.
Oh, yeah.
My
so
pleasure.
we are going to have him back, and we'll have him back to take care of the XL Center, and hopefully by that time the legislature gives us our money, damn it. But hey, yeah, all of you work for us, remember that. So until next time, we are the Whaler guys. Peter Demallie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Peter.
No problem.
And remember, we're one nation under green. We're the Whaler guys. You guys are Whalers Brigade. Have a great night.
Go Whalers.